Okay. Okay, we are live. Thank you for all for joining, wherever you may be. So now we will be singing this bhajan, Bhoro Suker Khabor Gai. I'm going to share my screen, and you guys can take a look. This is Bhoro Suker Khabor Gai by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The official name is Dalalera Gita. And the book name it's in one very not well-known book of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Vaishnava Siddhanta Mala. The four main books are Sharanagati, Kalyana Kalpataru, and Gitavali, and I forget the fourth one. But if so, Vaishnava Siddhanta Mala is not very well known, but it's a very important book, and it's a very beautiful song. I've heard His Holiness Niranjan Maharaj sing it, so we'll just attempt to get in the mood of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, or at least glance into the mood of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Please, I'll repeat every line twice, and you can practice singing along with me. charan bina ar nahi ashray. Nitai charan bina ar nahi ashray. Goda nitai, goda nitai, goda nitai, goda nitai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna. So we will read the translations of this. Yeah, we still have time. Let me go back to the first one. Very beautiful song. So I can read the first one. This is again by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's saying, I am singing news of great happy tidings. Lord Nityananda himself has opened a marketplace of the holy name in Surabhi Kunj. Surabhi Kunj is a place in Navadvip in Mayapur. Anybody want to read number 2?
I can read.
Sure.
The news of its great results is that he is selling the pure holy name in that marketplace for the price of only one's fate. Almost free. Take it.
Alec Prabhu 3.
Lord Nityananda, the proprietor of the market, seeing all the devotees become attracted, is selling them the holy name after bargaining with them.
Anybody want to read number 4?
Oh brother, if you want to buy the holy name, then go with me. We must go to the presence of that great soul Nityananda.
Number 5, anybody? You will buy the name of Krishna. I will take my commission and all of our desires will be fulfilled. 6.
Lord Nityananda is greatly merciful. Taking only one's fate, he gives the highest ecstasy.
7.
If Nitai sees only one's tears in the eyes while chanting the name Gaura, then he gives all resources to that person.
8.
He gives the pure teachings of Krishna to everyone and does not care for one's birth, wealth, knowledge, and strength.
9. So I can read that one. Now giving up the illusory snare of Maya, either remain in the household life or in the forest as a sannyasi, for no more troubles remain. 10.
There is no more fear of the age of Kali. The merciful Nityananda gives the holy name to even the Chandalas.
11.
Bhaktivinoda calls out, except for the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, there is no other shelter.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Right. Does anybody have any reflections on what we just read? or some take-home points. What are you going to take home with you once we've sing this song?
I mean, our last week's speaker, he said that instead of ISKCON being International Society for Krishna Consciousness, it should have been Society for Nityananda Consciousness. I think I see the point now.
Yeah, they're very important.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that we hear Srila Prabhupada say so many times, you cannot buy, I guess this was a practice in the 60s and 70s, and to some smaller extent now, that yogis used to come from India and they used to sell the Gayatri mantra and many other mantras for like a big donation. And now you see that as well, that you see in the form of what do you call it? Like motivational speakers and stuff like that. They charge you thousands of dollars for courses. Even Scientology, they sell thousands of dollars worth of courses to teach you some mantra, how to control the mind, you know. So to that extent, we don't charge anything for the holy name, but in this circumstance of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that we are selling the holy name. And Nityananda, when we say Koda Nitai is correct me if I'm wrong, Pritam Prabhu. Koda is kind of like the shopkeeper. The Koda kind of means the shopkeeper. So when we say Koda Nitai, we're just screaming we're just kind of like yelling to the shopkeeper, hey, Koda Nitai, help us buy the holy name. And how do you buy the holy name? It's I think
One's faith.
One's faith. Shraddha Mulye. There's a verse.
Yeah, next one. One more. Yeah, this one.
Taking only one's faith, he gives the highest ecstasy. And this one's my favorite. If Nitai sees only one's tears in the eyes while chanting the name Gora, then he gives all resources to that person, you know?
That's very difficult. Do you have tears? I don't have tears.
I have crocodile tears, you know?
I don't even have that.
Crocodile tears?
Maybe Navin Krishna Prabhu has it.
Yeah, Navin Krishna Prabhu has the tears. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there's...
Okay, our speaker is here, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, SavyaSachi, Prabhu. Are you able to hear us?
He's mute.
Hare Krishna.
I can hear you.
We can hear you now, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Danvar Pranam, Agosha Prabhupada. Thank you for coming, Prabhu.
No, thank you for having me.
Hare Krishna. So I will just give us a quick introduction. We will pause our study of the Vaishnava Acharyas. Next week we'll also have another bhajans of Nityananda.
I was hearing so nicely. Anyway.
Hare Krishna. So we have our speaker this week. We are so excited to have His Grace SavyaSachi Prabhu speaking to us all the way from South Africa. SavyaSachi Prabhu is a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, and he's originally from South Africa. He joined the temple in the year 2002, and he studied, various courses like Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhava. If you don't know what Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhava are, they're comprehensive studies into Bhagavad Gita and Ishopanishad, Nectar of Instruction, and then Bhakti Vaibhava is towards the Bhagavatam. So he has taken time and done that, and he has been serving in South Africa, and there's neighboring countries called Swaziland. I believe Swaziland just changed their name to Eswatini. So he's serving in Eswatini, and then there's some exciting things going on in South Africa. And even I've heard there's a new temple in Namibia, Swakopmund, and in Namibia is a very close country next to there. So South Africa is an exciting place right now, and he has been specializing in university outreach. And he spends 4 to 5 months out of the year, outside of COVID times, of course, traveling internationally. And I actually, I remember seeing SavyaSachi Prabhu with the New York City Harinam. I was passing one time, and then I saw him chanting with the Harinam. And then also once serving as Guru Maharaj at New Vrindavan. So with Gauranga Gunarnava and all those people. So we are very excited to have him, and he came on a very short notice. So he'll be discussing from Canto 1, Chapter 5, text 8 through 11. And Prabhu will be speaking for about 45 minutes to 1 hour. And then we will have some question, answer, and discussion after that. So without further ado, we'll hand it off to SavyaSachi Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think we should chant the song a bit. 2 minutes, Jaya Rama.
Sure.
Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari,
Jaya Jaya Kunja Bihari,
Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari,
Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari,
Vijana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Ashuranandana, Jaya Rajajanaranja, Jaya Ashuranandana, Jaya Rajajanaranja, Yamunatira Vanachari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Kunja
Jaya
Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki.
Jai,
Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Jai Gaur Premanandi.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So it's very interesting with the technology that we can just really, as the software says, zoom out of South Africa straight into Ohio. So the afternoon here, it's a warm day, and I don't think it's the same thing with you guys. It's a cold day.
It's full of snow.
Oh. Okay. Anyway, Krishna says, tolerate the happiness and distress. It's only based on sense perception. Easier said than done. So thank you, Prabhus, for giving me association. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So there's some devotees here with me. So if I look like I'm talking to some unseen people, just know that it's not the ghosts and spirits. It's actually some devotees. Hare Krishna. So we have been given the verse, I guess you've been studying till first canto, 5th chapter, text 8 to 11. So I thought that what we can do, we will definitely, we'll chant each verse, and I'll chant the verse maybe once. We can do the translation and purport. I say something, then we move on to the next text. I feel Prabhupada's purports are the main dish, more than what I will say. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, first canto, 5th chapter, verse 8. Shri Naradu Vacha Bhavatanudita Prayam Yasho Bhagavato Malam Yenaiva so natu seta Manye tat dashanam kilam. Translation and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Shri Narada said, "You have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless." Purport. The eternal relation of an individual soul with the Supreme Soul, personality of Godhead, is constitutionally one of being the eternal servitor of the eternal Master. The Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving service from them. And this alone can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. Such a scholar as SavyaSachi has completed many expansions of the Vedic literatures, ending with the Vedanta philosophy. but none of them have been written directly glorifying the personality of Godhead. Dry philosophical speculations, even on the transcendental subject matter of the Absolute, have very little attraction without directly dealing with the glorification of the Lord. The personality of Godhead is the last word in transcendental realization. The Absolute, realized as impersonal Brahman or localized Supersoul Paramatma, is less productive of transcendental bliss than the supreme personal realization of his glories. The compiler of the Vedanta Darshan is Vyasadeva himself, yet he is troubled, although he is the author. So what sort of transcendental bliss can be derived by the readers and listeners of Vedanta, which is not explained directly by Vyasadeva, the author? Herein arises the necessity of explaining Vedanta Sutra in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam by the self-same author. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapara Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyayevacha Patita Nam Pavenebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. This is a very wonderful series of verses spoken by Narada Muni to Srila Vyasadeva. So Narada Muni is a powerful Jagat Guru. Literally, he has disciples across the universe. And he is in the line of our disciplic succession. And here he's speaking to his own disciple, who is the literary incarnation of Godhead himself, Vyasadeva. So it is a meeting of very, very powerful persons. What privilege we have that we can listen into their discussions. That is the special feature of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that it narrates histories and it gives us insights into discussions of the great souls, the greatest persons, even the personality of Godhead himself. Even with your best surveillance software, you could not tap the line to hear what Krishna says to his friends, his relatives. You could not tap the line to find out what Narada Muni's mind and heart contains. But by some great mercy, here we are hearing this wonderful discussion. So just to take note of the amazing, wonderful opportunity we get by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So background is that Vyasadeva has compiled the different Vedic literatures, and after doing all that work, he's feeling unhappy, and he's coming to his spiritual master, because it is the process that once you are given instruction, if to execute it is giving you problems, you have to go back and check. The famous example of Mahaprabhu is there. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is no less than Godhead himself, he was given instruction by Sri Ishwara Puri that you chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Don't worry about studying Vedanta. You are a fool. You won't understand Vedanta. See the position of the spiritual master. That it is his job to find fault with the disciple. If the guru is only flattering us, then like the ladies when they bake, they put self-raising flour. Do you have that in? So when there's self-raising flour, then there's a tendency to get puffed up. And then we may think, yeah, Guru Maharaj said, you're such a nice devotee. And then it becomes hard to correct, because what we need is someone who can deal with the subtle contaminations in our consciousness. 4 regulative principles means we've given up the heavy things. No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. But then the bigger work is the subtle, the finer things. And the spiritual master is to point that out. So now, Vyasadeva, why is it that after doing all this work, because he's inspired to take care of the people of Kali by making it easy to digest the Veda, he comes to his guru. And Narada Muni doesn't waste time. He reminds us of Krishna, also in the Bhagavad Gita. He tells Arjuna that you're speaking learned words, but you're lamenting for that which is not worthy of grief. The wise, they lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So it is told to us, basically he's telling him in very good words, you're a fool, you're an idiot. You're busy here running your mouth as if you know all sorts of things, but then that which is symptomatic of one who has knowledge, that means distinction between matter and spirit. You're crying, oh, I cannot kill my relatives. So Krishna immediately in the role of guru diagnoses. So now Narada Muni says the reason why you are not satisfied is because you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. We want to broadcast the glories of Krishna because they contain the substance that everyone is looking for. Mahaprabhu has said that nectar for which we are always anxious. In this world, there's always a lack, right? There's always something missing. Even you get the most well-to-do people, beautiful, many resources connected. When they get to sit down with friends or at the psychiatry office or the psychologist, there's just an emptiness inside, you know. I cannot feel it. One devotee was telling me about a personality like that the other day. Young lady, qualified as a lawyer, all the things that you need at 25, she has them materially. But there's a vacancy in the heart, something's missing. In her case, she thinks that she's missing her Romeo. She's Juliet and Romeo hasn't showed up. She's the princess in the tower and the prince riding on a white horse has not showed up. And because of that emptiness, then even jackals, when they come riding on a donkey, she thinks, oh, this is Prince Charming. This donkey is actually a white horse. There's a shape in my heart that this donkey and jackal can fit into. Please come, I have service. I'll be the deity, you can worship, I'll teach you how to deal with me. Vacancy in the heart. Those who know the truth, that gap in the heart, only Krishna can fit in. So now, basically Narada Muni is saying, without touching on the subject of Krishna, no one can become satisfied. Let's read what Srila Prabhupada is saying. I might have just run along, I heard before. Srila Prabhupada writes, the eternal relation of an individual soul with the Supreme Soul Personality of Godhead is constitutionally one of being the eternal servitor of the eternal Master. The Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving service from them. And this alone can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. So make a note of that. This alone can satisfy. We're looking for placidity. And Bhagavatam has said like that, Savai Pungsang Parodamo Yato Bhakti Adokshaji. Ahaituki Apratihata Yayatma Suprasidati. So this suprasidity, that which will greatly satisfy us, has to do with devotional service to the personality of God. Unceasing, unmotivated, uninterrupted. So it is almost like if we say, this television will not work without it being plugged to the electricity. For it to always work, it must always be connected to the electricity. And it's not that you put it in the socket and not press the button, put it on, which may happen to us. We have the tilak, we have the kantimala, we know the jargon, Hare Bol, Hare Krishna. It looks like we're connected, but the switch has not been put on. And therefore, we are not deriving any benefit. So that TV or fridge with the switch not on looks like a fridge, but doesn't act like one. You can put your whatever, it will not be cooled. Yes. So same thing, the devotee, if he's not substantially connected to hearing about Krishna, then the bhakti is lip service. It is not heart deep. And therefore, it will not touch me. I'm the soul, I'm in the air of the heart. So Vyasadeva is being called out, as we say these days. Narada Muni is calling him out. That all you have done, you've hit all other targets, except the real target. So that's what happens. If you don't want to be blamed for missing the target, you don't mark it. It's not clearly defined. So whatever you hit, it's good enough. So here Krishna is discussing, well, Narada Muni is telling Vyasadeva, only loving service can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. So this is quite interesting. Are we to understand that Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he has some lacking? Didn't we hear that he's Atmarama? He's self-satisfied. That the Supreme Being means that entity that doesn't take any help from any source outside of its own energies. That's what makes him absolute. He is Abhigya Swarat, independent. So what is it that Krishna is lacking? What is he lacking? Krishna does not have my love for him, your love for him, her love for him. That Krishna does not have. He does not have the love of the living entity. And so, even though he's completely perfect, Om Punam, is Punam, still something is lacking. And so Krishna is interested in the relationship between the living being. And so Krishna, although is supremely satisfied, he can become even more satisfied. So you can always add to his satisfaction. He always has an appetite for more satisfaction, which comes from the relationship between the jiva and himself. Prabhupada continues. Such a scholar as Vyasadeva has completed many expansions of the Vedic literatures, ending with the Vedanta philosophy. But none of them have been written directly glorifying the personality of Godhead. Dry philosophical speculations, even on the transcendental subject of the Absolute, have very little attraction without directly dealing with the glorification of the Lord. The personality of Godhead is the last word in transcendental realization. The Absolute, realized as impersonal Brahman or localized Supersoul Paramatma, is less productive of transcendental bliss than the supreme personal realization of his glories. So the substance which is desired in the connection with the Lord is transcendental bliss. In South Africa, they say, there's a saying, Faga uzobona. That means that almost like if you have a slot machine, if you're interested in playing that game, it may be Pac-Man or whatever, Mortal Kombat at the arcade shop. Unless you put in your coin in the slot machine, you won't know what the game is all about, what will happen. So they use it as a way of, give me something, then I'll show you what I can give back. So with Krishna also, without making the endeavor to relate to him through devotional service, then that which we're looking for, the hunger that is haunting us, in the lack that is going on, the desertification of our hearts, remains just that. And we don't get that transcendental bliss. And now the analysis is made. Godhead, in his impersonal feature Brahman, produces some Brahmananda, some type of happiness, realizing I'm the soul. Brahmabhuta prasanatma nasochiti nakankshati samasavesha bhutesu madbhaktim labate param. I am the soul, okay? Samasavesha, now I see everyone equally. Oh, they are all souls. Then I don't lament, I don't hanker. I'm satisfied. That is the platform of happiness. But that is the beginning of bhakti. Mad bhaktim labate param. Bhakti is supreme to that. But from that level of self-realization, do we actually start transacting in devotion, which is somewhat substantial? But even that platform of Brahmabhuta, it's something, but compared to what the yogis are looking for. Ramante Yogino Anante, Satyananda Chidatmani, the yogis, they're looking for the super soul in the heart. And they go through a lot, right? Even Arjuna didn't want to go through that. He told Krishna, wait now, Krishna. I think what you're suggesting is it's above my pay grade. To control the mind in such ways, it will be easier to control the raging wind. So who is Arjuna and who are we? What are his qualifications as a person compared to us, Kali Yuga rejects, in the words of Shripad Ayendra Prabhu? So they go for that and they take so much trouble. But that happiness is also not the best production of transcendental bliss. So the source of all transcendental bliss, the Ananda Murti, is Krishna. So when we come to the personal feature of Krishna, now we can transact. And there's so many varieties and flavors of that relationship. So that is what we are looking for. And so Prabhupada is mentioning that. The personal realization of his glories, that's where we're headed. So the criticism, you have not touched that which will produce the best quality of bliss. The compiler of Vedanta Darshan is Vyasadeva himself, yet he's so troubled. Although he's the author, so what sort of transcendental bliss can be derived by the readers and listeners of Vedanta, which is not explained directly by Vyasadeva, the author? He himself is telling you, this will make you happy. I've compiled such a wonderful scripture. I've divided everything nicely, but he himself, sour-faced, no Colgate face. One brahmachari from India, when he talks about happiness, Colgate face, and sour face. He's despondent, but he's selling happiness. So that's called bogus, right? If you yourself are smoking, you cannot quit yourself, and you're telling us, look, if you hang out with me, I will teach you how to stop smoking. So Guru is saying, you are not satisfied because you've not done the right thing. So Prabhupada is pointing it out. So last line, herein arises the necessity of explaining Vedanta Sutra in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam by the self-same author. So a bit not so technical, 2 lines of Vedic knowledge are there. Puranas and Upanishads. The Upanishads, they culminate in Bhagavad Gita, Gita Upanishad. So that's the essence of the Upanishadic scriptures. Then Puranas, they culminate in this Vedanta Sutra, which then Vyasadeva has compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. So then the Bhagavatam becomes the Amala Purana, the spotless evidence. So if Veda Vyas is compiling Vedic literature, is dividing it, Sama, Rig, Atava, and Yajurveda, he's bringing it back into this code of Vedanta Sutra. It's like condensed philosophy. And then he himself, to explain what he's written, he's the best person, right, to explain his own book. So because people are misinterpreting Vedanta Sutra and arriving at wrong conclusions, he then had to compile Srimad Bhagavatam. This is actually what remedies his problem, because Srimad Bhagavatam is then now the glories of Krishna. So Prabhupada is highlighting that because he had not touched the essence of Vedanta, which Veda Anta, the end of knowledge, then there was a need to explain this Vedanta Sutra. He had ended there. So then Srimad Bhagavatam then now really unfurls the whole philosophy and brings about Krishna. And that was going to help him become satisfied. So we'll move on. Any thoughts so far? Just so that it's not a big chunk of me speaking. If there's any thoughts, feel free to say anything. Otherwise, we will move to the next sloka. Okay. So next verse, text 9. Yata dhamma dayas chata muni vyar nukirtitaha natata vasudevasya mahima hya anuvartina. Translation. Still Narada Muni speaking. Although, great sage, you have very broadly described the 4 principles beginning with religious performances, you have not described the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada. The prompt diagnosis of Sri Narad is at once declared. The root cause of his despondency, of Vyasadeva, was his deliberate avoidance of glorifying the Lord in his various editions of the Puranas. He has certainly, as a matter of course, given descriptions of the glories of the Lord Shri Krishna, but not as many as given to religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation. These 4 items are by far inferior to engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. Shri Vyasadeva, as the authorized scholar, knew very well this difference. And still, instead of giving more importance to the better type of engagement, namely devotional service to the Lord, he had more or less improperly used his valuable time. And thus, he was despondent. From this, it is clearly indicated that no one can be pleased substantially without being engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, this fact is clearly mentioned. After liberation, which is the last item in the line of performing religiosity, etc., one is engaged in pure devotional service. This is called the stage of self-realization, or the Brahmabhuta stage. After attainment of this Brahmabhuta stage, one is satisfied. But satisfaction is the beginning of transcendental bliss. one should progress by attaining neutrality and equality in the relative world. And passing this stage of equanimity, one is fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is the instruction of the personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion is that in order to maintain the status quo of the Brahmabhuta stage, as also to increase the degree of transcendental realization, Narad recommended to Vyasadeva that he, Vyasadeva, should now eagerly and repeatedly describe the path of devotional service. This would cure him from gross despondency. So the diagnosis is basically religion is the problem. He's saying you've just given too much religion. There's 4 goals of life, Artha, Kama, Dharma, and Moksha. They are called the Purusharthas. Anyone here who would say they're against economic development, like I'm against this, please raise your hand. You will hardly find that living being who is against money. As Govinda Maharaj says, money sweeter than honey, brighter than sunshine. So everyone wants some sort of money. Why? Because we have to maintain this bag of bones, blood, pus, and stew. It's a machine. It needs its oils and fuels, and it needs maintenance. Secondary, there's these senses. Oh, the senses. They are actually the slave masters. The senses are always demanding some service. Even in our sleeping, still, somewhere, we're doing something, trying to enjoy something. So money is the key that opens the different doors for the enjoyment of our senses. So even in a pious setting, just to stay alive and then do religious stuff, you need a situation. And to enjoy the senses, you need money. So artha. And generally we want money for calm, to enjoy the senses in some way, shape or form. So each person may think, well, what I do, what you do, it's up to you. Who are you to tell me? Like people don't like the sense gratification. It sounds like you don't want anyone to be happy around here. Because what other happiness do we know except what comes through the senses? Tongue, yummy. Boom, 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 ear. Sounds very good. Soft things, nice. Now it's winter. Nice warm jacket. Very good. Skin is saying, good for me. Eyes. We want to see beautiful things. That's why in the shops, they try to put the best looking things there. So that when you're walking past, these objects, they catch your senses, and it means they catch you. So from Artha comes this karma. And sometimes, if someone is fortunate, having tried to enjoy the senses, they see, still, heart is vacant. That's what we learn from the rich and famous. All the arrangements they've made, still, they have to try cocaine or try to jump off a building just to feel better. So that means still wanting. And so some people think, okay, maybe I have to go to God. So dharma. And in religion, maybe God will give me some situation of happiness. And those who are more fortunate still, they realize that just being pious is simply giving me a ticket to travel back and forth in this universe. Oh, now you've been very pious, very nice. Come to Swarga. Come to Nandakanana Gardens. Enjoy. Strong body. Aromatic fragrance, not this smelly armpits. You can come and be actually Mr. Universe. Yeah, up there, very strong, very well. Enjoy. But Shine Punya Matya Vishantil, you again run out that punya, and then you have to fall back. So this up and down is not satisfactory. Then some souls then think, I want to get out of here. As the comedian said, stop the world, I want to get off. That is liberation. Enough. I don't want anything now, I want to get out of here. But it's not so easy. So they take all that tapasya. So Vyasadeva has discussed thoroughly all the subjects to do with how to earn money properly in this world, how to enjoy your senses in a religious, pious way, how to be dharmic, do the pious activity, do the pujas, worship this deva, worship that deva, and just touched a bit about moksha. And all of these things are genuinely having to do with the prison. So no matter how much you discuss the prison and its activities, you're still discussing the prison. Okay, better maybe I'm prison, first class prisoner. I get a newspaper and my toilet flushes. So, oh wow, I'm really like enjoying here. But hey, there are people who are outside this prison. They don't have to share. To share that embarrassing facility with 10 other people. So this material basically is embarrassing us. And Vyasadeva, by discussing all these subjects, is just giving us a variety of these embarrassments. Sometimes in pink, sometimes in purple, sometimes in red. But all the same, not producing what the heart is hankering for. So now we will hear what he must do. What's the actual service he must perform. Verse 10, this is like a sprint. In America, they have sprint mobile. This is sprint Bhagavatam. So text 10, Nayat vachas chitra padam hareyaso, jagat pavitram pragrinita kari, chittad vayasam titam ushanti manasa, nayatra hangsa niramantu shikshaya. Very famous, beautiful verse. Translation, those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. First line purport, crows and swans are not birds of the same feather because of their different mental attitudes. The fruitive workers or passionate men are compared to the crows, whereas the all-perfect saintly persons are compared to swans. So choose. We have to see, we want to be in the crow-like WhatsApp group, or we want to migrate to the swan WhatsApp group, because there different kata is available. The crows take pleasure in a place where garbage is thrown out. This is the glory of Bhagavatam. Sometimes it's coming down like a ton of bricks. It's very wonderful because we tend to think, I'm okay, I'm doing well, I'm a devotee. Until we realize, actually, I'm maybe on a garbage dump. So here it goes. So who are those? The passionate fruitive workers take pleasure in wine and women and places for gross sense pleasure. The swans do not take pleasure in the places where crows are assembled for conferences and meetings. They are instead seen in the atmosphere of natural scenic beauty, where there are transparent reservoirs of water nicely decorated with stems of lotus flowers and variegated colors of natural beauty. That is the difference between the two classes of birds. And it's driven by the nature that you are attracted to certain things differently. Nature has influenced different species of life with different mentalities, and it is not possible to bring them up into the same rank and file. That means artificially. Everyone is equal. Yeah, it's a good idea, but you don't know on what platform they're equal. So artificially, if we say the dogs also, they're also equal to the man. So then if we put the dog on the throne, we might dress him up and put a crown on his head. And soon as another dog walks past, he'll start to bark. Because naturally, he has to communicate. There's that story of, was it a jackal? This jackal went to mess around in a nearby barn. And while he was scavenging there, a bucket of blue paint fell on him. And then he was all blue. When he came back to the forest, all the animals were like amazed. Wow, who is this blue guy? It's like, what a novel creature. He should become our leader. Everyone's started to want to worship him and give him extra honor. And so he took it. He thought, oh yeah, finally they can see who I am. And they were bringing food to him. Even, the lions were taking him as something mystical. Some avatar had come. But then one night, the wolf, he started hearing other wolves doing their whatever cry they make in the night. Hey man, he couldn't resist himself. He started also howling like a wolf. And then everyone else realized, hey, this is no god or some special animal, it's just a wolf. So everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the modes of nature that he has acquired. So there is no repression, it's a temporary thing where we try to suppress our different natures. But if we don't engage in something higher, we will not be able to upgrade ourselves. Similarly, the crow, by artificial means, he can try to walk like the swan. He may probably get someone to paint him white. But as soon as there's garbage, he will run to the garbage. And then the swans will discover, oh, we thought that you were... So that is the point. So similarly, there are different kinds of literature for different types of men of different mentality. Mostly the market literatures which attract men of the crows categories are literatures containing refused remnants of sensuous topics. Please note that, make it your status. There's a category of literatures containing refused remnants of sensuous topics. That is the whole plethora of newspapers, YouTube. Okay, YouTube is good. There's devotees there somehow. Netflix and all their cousins. It's just a subject of all these refuse remnants of sensuous topics. They are generally known as mundane talks. That's when we respect them. We say, this is just mundane talk. But when we call it straight, it's refused remnants of sensuous topics. Srila Prabhupada key. Oh, Prabhupada, it's just like helping us out. They are generally known as mundane talks in relation with the gross body and subtle mind. They are full of subject matter described in decorative language, full of mundane similes and metaphorical arrangements. Yet with all that, they do not glorify the Lord. Such poetry and prose on any subject matter is considered decoration of a dead body. It's dead. So what is the beauty? It's at best as cosmetic as it comes, very superficial. It's the suit. Oh, it's such a nice Armani suit. Well, what's the benefit to this bag? The body is gone. So society, and we live in that society, and we should be cognizant of that fact, that the majority of the subject matter we're consuming is being prepared by persons who are without access to the actual subject, which is glorious. It is said in the translation, the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe. What person is that? You know, we buy like some scented something, light incense in your room, and you hope that it'll permeate your room and make it smell better than what it smells like. Krishna alone, just his glories, they can sanctify the entire atmosphere of the whole. And that's the person whom the world is neglecting. And instead, producing so many other literature. Yes, it's written in the best language and it's very sophisticated and it's a bestseller, so many bestsellers. But still, that subject matter is considered decoration of a dead body. So this language of the Bhagavatam is so that it creates some scars in our minds. Next time we hear some nice poetry and some nice descriptions of whatever it may be, we will analyze where's the connection to Krishna. At least we can spiritualize it by connecting it. But otherwise we can understand such a nice decoration of a dead body. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki. Don't shoot the messenger. So, okay, here we go, one more. Spiritually advanced men who are compared to the swans do not take pleasure in such dead literatures, which are sources of pleasure for men who are spiritually dead. These literatures in the modes of passion and ignorance are distributed under different labels, but they can hardly help the spiritual urge of the human being. And thus the swan-like spiritually advanced men have nothing to do with them. Such spiritually advanced men are called also manasa because they always keep up the standard of transcendental voluntary service. Voluntary. Free will, voluntary. We have to volunteer serenely. Okay, Krishna, I'll do something. Voluntary service to the Lord on the spiritual plane. This completely forbids fruitive activities for gross bodily sense satisfaction or subtle speculation of the material egoistic mind. Social, literary men, scientists, mundane poets, theoretical philosophers, and politicians who are completely absorbed in the material advancement of sense pleasure are all dolls of the material energy. They take pleasure in a place where rejected subject matters are thrown. According to Swami Sridhar, this is the pleasure of the prostitute hunters. But literatures which describe the glories of the Lord are enjoyed by the Paramahamsas who have grasped the essence of human activities. Yeah, no, I will hold back the... One devotee here made a joke which caught us off guard. But this joke is, unfortunately, it's not for swan-like people to fully appreciate. But I think all Vaishnavas are potent enough to digest some humor. So this will be an example of words that are used in a very interesting, wonderful way, which may come off very wonderful and are very entertaining, but actually are discussing the subject matter of this world. Still, it is very funny. That's how you spoil a joke. But then everyone here is over 18, right? Okay, here goes. So someone said something was amazing. He said, wow, this stuff is off the hook. So then, okay, everyone is, yes, slang, it's off the hook. Then one of the most innocent looking Matajis, is generally quite sober and focused Bhaktin. She got the attention of everyone. And then she said to us, because everyone was thinking, where's this off the hook? Where does it come from? So then she said, you know how prostitutes, already they're laughing, said, you know how prostitutes are called hookers. So once they take holiday, that's when they are off the hook. So anyway, Prabhupada brought up something to do with the pleasure of prostitute hunters. So Shida Swami has said that when the subject matter has nothing to do with Krishna, all it produces is the pleasure of prostitute hunters, who, when they meet this prostitute who is on holiday, they say, ah, man, this is not off the hook. You should get back to work. Hare Krishna. So this will live to haunt me because it's all recorded and it's live on YouTube. So, but anyway, we're communicating a serious subject matter which has ramifications in real time, that even what entertains us, and most of us here are grown on comedy, and most of the comedy, which seems very innocent because in my mind, this joke will never go, right? So now I have to find utility for it. Because although the man is making us laugh, the woman is making us laugh at the comedy club, but it's full of just really like hectic subject matter which sticks in our consciousness, which is a bit, we've got a taste for it. So there is another quality of sound vibration, and that sound vibration is when the words are directed to the activities of the Lord. So last verse, which is the most famous, let's see if I can do it without, Tadvak Vishago Janatak Viplavo. Yasmin Pratishloka Mabada Vadapi Namani Anantasya Yasho Akintanayat. Don't spell it. Then Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadava. So please listen carefully, and the devotees here are reading. On the other hand, that literature, which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. I believe this verse, Srila Prabhupada puts it at the end of his preface of the Bhagavatam, that now you've compiled the Bhagavatam, and it may not be perfect in terms of its literary composition, the language, the examples, the rest of it. But because it attempts to glorify Krishna, the personality of Godhead, maybe you can put which light on, I don't know if it will help. Then it will be accepted and it will create the necessary revolution. And that revolution is within the heart. So there's a very lengthy purport, which I think the devotees, since we're running out of time, will find some time to read. Just one thing to say is that the Srimad Bhagavatam is distributing the techniques of devotional service, basically the spiritual technology. How do we, while living in this world, become spiritualized and purified in our consciousness? So how to connect to the spiritual platform. So by hearing about Krishna, by chanting about Krishna. So that literature which is discussing that, once it is heard by someone who is sincere, we see that their lives, they transform. We have heard something, the holy name, we've heard the philosophy through the books, and by hearing that, we have begun to act differently and our lives have transformed. So we must propagate this quality of sound vibration, which cuts into every sphere of life. Poetry, art, philosophy, science, architecture. There's nothing the Bhagavatam cannot address, because it is coming from the realized souls who have the vision of the whole thing. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you so much for hanging on the whole hour of high-speed Bhagavatam. If there's any comments, I think, or points to clarify, please forgive me for the shortcomings. I could have never been able to cover such a subject, but I hope it was somewhat of service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, SavyaSachi Prabhu. Thank you so much for that jam-packed, ecstatic Srimad Bhagavatam class. We feel like we're all in Wake Up South Africa Center. We're all just sitting there and we're all listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam.
I'll show you the devotees.
Haribo!
Hare Krishna. Really wake up South Africa. Hare Krishna.
We're waking up in the morning here when you're wake up in the afternoon there. So, devotees, if anybody has any questions about what Prabhu spoke today, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your questions, or you can give a comment as well. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I actually, Prabhu, I had one question. So in verse 8, it spoke about how Narada Muni is being you were speaking about how the guru is kind of heavy with his instructions, and Narada Muni is saying, that even dry philosophical speculations, even on the transcendental subject of the absolute, have very little attraction without directly dealing with the glorification of the Lord. So he's basically saying that if it is kind of like the word in the 15th verse is used jugupsitam, which is like utterly useless. All these literatures that do not glorify directly the Supreme Lord. So we see that many people, they go out and they work, say that I'm a lawyer or a doctor or something. So they're going out and serving Krishna, serving people, so they're serving people and they're dedicating they may dedicate some money for Krishna. Like if they're grihastha, they may work and then they go and they give some money for the temple and stuff like that. So why is Narada Muni so much emphasizing the direct service? Couldn't Vyasdev's work be seen like as connectors or dedicating the fruits of it to Krishna? Why is it Narada Muni's instructions so stringent? That's my question.
Thank you for that question. Yeah, Narada Muni has to give the essence, and the essence is that until and unless the soul is connected directly in the Bhagavat path of hearing, chanting, and remembering directly the name and fame of Krishna, then any other form of connection is, it's like you've dialed down the potency. So the devotees, we preach and teach, and it is corroborated by Krishna that yes, Kama Yoga is part of the path. But the tendency of conditioned souls like us is to take a great personality's words and then use them to substantiate our own genuinely materially influenced desires. For example, Hare Krishna. You'll hear devotees say, for example, may say they personally like chocolate. There's a big controversy with chocolate all the time. Then, well, Indra Maharaj, he loves chocolate. We made him chocolate cake and da. Or devotees will buy, I want a nice Mercedes Benz. It's a beautiful car. Naturally, you'll want it. They designed it so it attracts. But I want it, and then I will personalize the license plate and say, for you, Krishna. But I'll drive it to Niagara Falls and wherever else. And also to the temple. And on Rath Yatra Day, I'll drive Jagannath Baladev or Subhadra. So Narada Muni is seeing that in the name of creating the bridge, you have inadvertently overemphasized the lesser processes, and the people will latch on to that. It's in the Vedas to worship Ganesh, to worship Shiva, to worship Brahmaji for whatever I want materially. So why are you criticizing me, telling me I should worship Krishna alone? So he's making sure that we understand that we can utilize everything in Krishna's service, but there must be that direct process of hearing and chanting and remembering the actual personality of Godhead. So we have to show the devotees Pancharatrika and Bhagavad Vidi. We engage everything we have under the guidance of a spiritual master, but then we still have to follow directly the path. Therefore, in ISKCON movement, with the mode of goodness, giving up sinful life for regulative principles, the most important is to chant the minimum rounds of Hare Krishna mantra. Yeah. Otherwise, I will. I'm still a vegetarian, and at least I don't go to the casinos because it's all pious and but it's not connecting to Krishna now. It's just like you are piously going down. So the Guru, that's his mercy, making it clear what is the actual target, what will really satisfy. And he's giving such a standard, ahaitukiya pratihata, unmotivated. Who does things without seeing what's in it for them? So unless it's only motivated anukulyena Krishnanu, to please Krishna, it won't produce the type of satisfaction we are hankering for. So if no one tells us that, we'll be shocked. I'm doing all the things the scriptures say, I'm doing this puja, that puja. How come still I'm not feeling completely satisfied? So his mercy is to say, without going straight to Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure, it's going to be a long road of unsatisfied endeavors. So such a guru can be the guru of the entire universe. But the guru who says, well, it is compassion, yes. And we get that a lot. We're so fortunate that we are being carried along, no matter where you are. The expert Vaishnav can engage us to encourage us. But also he tells us what is the ideal and helps us towards that standard. So we should have that mood to help ourselves and others to move up.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much for answering my question. That was really helpful. Does anybody else have a question or a comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I had I needed one clarification on one point from text 10. But first of all, thank you for giving the class with such energy, and really loved your references from different Prabhupada's points. So, Prabhuji, one question I had from 10 towards the there is a very small paragraph, just one line. It says that the nature has influenced different species of life with different mentalities. So we read something something that slightly touches on this point in Bhagavad Gita as well, chapter 13 and 14, and also a little bit in 18, that you know, living entities, they have the free will, and based on their free will their minds work. I mean, free will in the sense that desires. So this statement here, that nature influences the mentalities, so it, every time I read, it just gets confusing, that is it the nature that influences the desires of a person and then influences the mentality, or because of their free will their desires develop, and now there are modes which they can use to fulfill their desires and satisfy their minds. So see the question there?
Okay. You are a very thoughtful devotee. So it works both ways. For example, the knowledge that we have will influence our worldview. And the worldview that we have influences the type of knowledge we pursue. So we are embodied by a certain type of body. It influences me who's within the body. And then I, living in the body, have also my own desires, which will have to be realized through the medium of this vehicle. So a simple example is the traffic light. When we get there, we see, red, green, and amber. So the lens is influencing our vision of the light. And therefore, the clear light is coming through as green or red or amber. And so that same light I'm perceiving through the influence of those lenses is also, if it were to speak, it'd be like, hey, I'm clear, but sorry, I'm being influenced by these lenses and you're seeing me as red, green, and amber. So the body that we have has its, you could say, what's the word? English word just goes, like its susceptibilities. It has a natural inclination to certain things. Just like human life is influenced by the mode of passion a lot. So you'll find that human beings are very vulnerable to passion and ignorance. Goodness, they have to cultivate. So it's both ways. You have desires that have come in with you, and they are dictating what you're looking for in the material world. And then also, you have received a certain body which is pre-programmed to facilitate certain things, and therefore it's also pushing on you. Yeah. I would say, like, you get the general statements that, like, men are like this, women are like this. Where is that coming from? Because they're all individuals. So we know that the individual, they have their own desires as souls. But then we also understand that male body, female body has a particular design and a modality that will influence whoever is in that form. Does it make?
Yeah, it does. So yeah, it works both ways. Because of our desires, we get some situation or vehicle, and then with that vehicle, our desires are fulfilled, basically.
Yeah, it's pushing us. Like you wanted these things, here's your gadget to get it done. And now you come to Bhakti, now you say, no, I don't want these things anymore. But then the machine which was made for these things is still saying, hey, come on.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
I feel that your group is really studying the books very nicely. You know, the way you're quoting in Gita, we heard this, we heard that. I think that's so nice that you're giving the book.
I don't know if it's the group, but I know definitely Alec Prabhu is doing it.
It is the group because of Hari. We are all systematically studying Srimad Bhagavatam. So
So I don't see any more hands raised. Speak now or forever hold your peace. One last question. Any other last comments? If not, we have a small announcement. I'd like to share my screen for a second. So SavyaSachi Prabhu has so dearly, he has come, accepted our offer to come speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he actually has this little preaching program in South Africa. And let me just pull this up. So they're actually have a fundraiser going on for the Wake Up South Africa, and they're trying to buy a minibus to hold all the books and stuff like that. And they're going to, it's in Melville, Johannesburg, Wits University for service and training. And they're actually doing this fundraiser on GoFundMe to raise some Lakshmi to help the mission of Srila Prabhupada, you know, South Africa and all these African nations. Srila Prabhupada was, he would say it was very dear to him, these missions. SavyaSachi Prabhu, would you like to share something on this project?
Yes, it's the Hare Krishna movement. So it requires movement. And so we want to put wheels on the mission. We are right next to a very big university where all the good brains of the country come. But then, as we heard at the university, the subject matter of transcendental life is not heard. So we want to connect them to our center here, which is maybe like a mile away from the university. And then also weekends, we hit the streets to do Harinam, book distribution. And we can all go on retreats, train them in the life of bhakti. And it is very important here to be able to facilitate persons. And you all know student life generally, that's when we're quite broke. And so transport is an issue to attend certain things. So we want to facilitate that. And this vehicle will help us do that. And if we can offer our services to the students, then they'll be in a few years entering society, and they'll open doors for our movement in those different departments in society. So yes, we want to mobilize the mission.
Yeah, this devotees, it's a great opportunity to serve the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I request all the devotees on this call to, if your funds allow you, please donate profusely to this mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I guarantee that some great souls will come out of it. And then if SavyaSachi Prabhu is training them, maybe they'll come in on our Zoom class and they'll give Bhagavatam as well, Bhagavatam class. So we are so please, I will share this in our Bhagavatam group, on the WhatsApp group, and you guys can take a look at it, and you guys can act accordingly. We will we will just say Vaishnava Pranam, and we will pause our reading of the Bhagavatam for this week. So Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha
Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. ISKCON SavyaSachi Prabhu ki jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki.
So everybody unmute themselves and say a big Hari Bol 3 times for all the people, devotees in South Africa and SavyaSachi Prabhu.
I'll also put them a chant.
Hari Bol! Thanks so much, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. We hope
Hare Krishna.
Oh, longer. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.